So this week, the Jets have the biggest game of their entire season, sitting at 2-4. They just traded for Davante Adams. The season is on the line. They're heading into Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football. And I think what happens on Sunday night is going to greatly determine the rest of their season. Because if you look at last year's AFC playoff seeding, the final team, the 7th seed, was the Pittsburgh Steelers at 10-7. And so for the Jets to make the playoffs, they probably need to be 10-7. So sitting at 2-4 right now, they need to go 8-3 the rest of the season. And so if they are to lose against Pittsburgh on Sunday night, that would mean they probably need to go 8-2 for the rest of the year, which just doesn't really give you that much room for error, because in 10 games, sure, they could go on a tear and get on a winning streak, but going 8-2, I mean, that's a tough task for any team in the NFL. And so this game, that's why this game is so important. And so when we look at this Jets team, there's no doubt that they've been inconsistent. They've been close in lots of these games. The offense, I think, has been the main problem here, which is why they demoted Nathaniel Hackett, decided to give the play calling to Todd Downing, fire Robert Saleh, bring in Davante Adams. And so the pressure really is on the Jets. And if they go 2-5, it's going to be ugly in New York. And so this is a game that the Jets desperately need this week to start to get on a roll. And if they're sitting at 3-4, I mean, I think they can go on a run. And I do think that adding Davante Adams is going to be a big difference maker for this offense, especially in the red zone where they've struggled a ton. And so when you look at just Aaron Rodgers going to New York, before the season started, with the weapons they had there, I honestly thought that this was an offense that would be able to be significantly better than they had last season. And while they have been slightly better, it hasn't been, that much different than last season. Last year, the Jets offense averaged 15.8 points a game. Now they're at 18.8, so it's been slightly better with Aaron Rodgers. And looking at Aaron Rodgers in his final year in Green Bay, he had a thumb injury early in the season. I do think that affected him somewhat in that season. And I was looking at that year, and I thought to myself, okay, if Aaron Rodgers comes into New York and he has a season similar to the 2022 season, which was a down year for Aaron Rodgers, the Jets, because of how good their defense is, can be a effective team that can, make a playoff run. But so far, he's been worse than he was in his final year in Green Bay. 9 TDs, 5 interceptions, and 84.4 rating. So the question is that we're going to hopefully get somewhat answered this week against Pittsburgh is, how much does Davante Adams and his presence on the field transform Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback and the Jets offense overall? And I think we saw last week against the Bills with Todd Downing getting his first week calling plays. I do think we saw a better Jets offense. They still struggled a little bit in the red zone. But when we look at the Steelers defense, they are one of the better defenses in the NFL. And looking at the past 3 games and the quarterbacks they faced and basically how those QBs have fared, Joe Flacco had a pretty efficient day versus the Steelers in week 4. He didn't really put up crazy numbers, but he went 16 of 26, 168 yards, 2 TDs, 0 interceptions, a 105 point, I think it's 9, not sure the final decimal there, but basically a 105 passer rating. Then against Dallas, Dak Prescott goes 29 of 42, 352 yards. So he was, he put up a lot of yards against the Steelers, 2 TDs, but 2 interceptions, 90.6 passer rating. Then last week, Aiden O'Connell, 27 of 40, 227 yards, 1 touchdown to 1 interception. So I do think that you can, pick apart this Steelers defense at times, even though overall they've been a really solid unit. And I do think adding Davante Adams is going to take this offense to another level. I do wonder, Davante hasn't played in a few games. He's coming off a hamstring injury. Now, of course, there could be debate as to how serious that was, or was he sort of wanting to sit out and get his way to another team, potentially. But I do wonder, how long will it take for Rodgers and Davante to sort of get back on the same page? Because even though they have a long history together, which has been one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the entire NFL, in the first game, can they be clicking just like that? Or is it going to take a couple games to where they're fully on the same page because they haven't played with each other in, basically since 2021? And so that's sort of the question I have. How long will it take? I don't think it'll take that long because Davante is a top-tier quarterback. Him and Aaron are clearly very locked in with each other. But this is a top 10, Steelers defense that has been one of the better units in the NFL, second best scoring defense through the first 6 weeks of the season. And it's really been what's held up this Steelers team. It's why they're 4-2. Their offense honestly hasn't been that good. Even though Justin Fields, I think, has been a more efficient and better passer than he was with Chicago, it still has led to the Steelers offense being the 21st offense in points scored, 26th in yards, 28th in pass yards, and 9th in rush yards. And so I know a lot of people are wondering why they would go off of Justin Fields when they're already sitting at 4-2. But personally, I fully get why they would do something like this, because if you're the Steelers and you're sitting there and Justin Fields has been okay, he's been pretty efficient, only throwing, one interception. He's really good running the ball. But when you look at that, 26th in yards, 21st in points scored, I mean, what risk do you have putting Russell Wilson out there? Because if he's, not great, you can't be that much worse than the Steelers' offense has been so far this season. And so I think that if you're the Steelers, you're trying to see if maybe if you put Russell Wilson in, can you have some kind of spark? I do think Russell Wilson is a better passer. He, of course, does not have Justin Fields' rushing ability. And so I get putting Russell Wilson out there. Let's say you play him this game, maybe the next game. You see, what he's doing. You see how the offense is different. Is it better with Russell Wilson? Is it not? If it's better, easy, you stick with Russ. If it's worse, okay, you go back to Justin Fields. And so the Steelers have the luxury of being able to do this because they are already 4-2. And if they were in the Jets position, I think it may be a little more risky to go with Russell just because there is a big unknown there. But I think that it's a smart decision to sort of see what you have there with Russell Wilson. The Steelers' rushing attack is definitely their strength. And I would say the Jets' defensive weakness is their rushing defense. So far, I already said the Steelers are 9th in rush yards per game. Najee Harris is 10th in rush yards among qualified running backs per NFL Pro. And if you look at the Jets' defense, they're 17th in rush yards allowed overall and then 9th in rush yards per play. And the one thing to watch out for in this game as well is the Jets have a ton of injuries in the secondary, and I think that could play a big part in this one. The Steelers' passing attack hasn't been great. I do think it will be better if Russell Wilson is out there. Will it be a top-tier attack? I don't think so. Even Russell Wilson the past couple seasons just hasn't really been that good of a quarterback. He's been somewhat efficient, has thrown not too many interceptions. And with the Steelers' defense being as good as they've been, I think they can still be successful, nearly as successful with Russell Wilson. The one area where I do think you'd rather have Justin Fields is this Steelers' offensive line has not been very good. They're 28th in pressure percentage allowed per NFL Pro and tied for the 9th most sacks allowed with 16. And that's with Justin Fields being able to escape the pocket, run away, do things like that. And Wilson at his age, he's no longer that quarterback who can escape the pocket like he once did in Seattle. And so that's one area where I think you're better off with Fields. You look at the Jets' defensive line, they've actually been very efficient rushing the passer, 5th highest pressure percentage, 4th in sacks. And so this should be a very fun game to watch on Sunday night. And I mean, the pressure is on for the New York Jets. As I said, I don't think they can really give this one up. If they do, they have to be nearly perfect the rest of the way. And I think, winning this game puts you at 3-4. Then you probably need to be 7-3 for the rest of the season. And at that point, I mean, that seems doable if this offense does take it to another level with Davante, which I expect them to. And I think even, 2-3 weeks down the line, we'll really see this offense get to a different level just because of Rodgers and Davante having a couple games back together and all the other receivers getting sort of used to how it's going to shift the offense. I think in a few weeks, we'll see this Jets offense at the best. We'll probably see them all year. At least, from previously, I think they could keep that going the rest of the season. And so the Jets are all in. Woody Johnson, there was some quote the other day where he's basically like, we're not thinking anymore. We're just going for it, basically. That wasn't a great, that wasn't exactly his quote, rough paraphrase. But I think that if you're the Jets, you got to do this. I mean, I get trading for Davante. You're going all in with Rodgers. You don't know how long he has. I'm fully in on the Jets doing this. And so my score prediction for this game is going to be Jets 21, Steelers 17. Two very talented defenses. I don't think it's going to be a crazy high-scoring game. Maybe with the Jets and their defense a little bit injured, the Steelers could get something going, but I still don't think the Steelers' offense has been that good this year. So that's my thoughts. If you want more Jets content, make sure you subscribe down below. Turn on the post notifications. You can follow me on Twitter at LukeBeller3. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.